In November 1990, Life magazine published a photo of a young man named David Kirby during the final moments of his life. His body was ravaged by AIDS. He had wasted away and appeared gaunt, near skeletal. His father, sister, and niece sat by grieving his fate as they watched him take his last breaths. This haunting image was taken by a journalism student, Therese Frare, and it quickly became the most powerful image associated with the AIDS epidemic. Frare started grad school at Ohio University in Athens in January 1990 and began volunteering at the Pater Noster House, an AIDS hospice in Columbus. The following March, she started taking pictures there and got to know the staff and one volunteer in particular named Peta, who was caring for Kirby as well as other patients. David Kirby had lived in Ohio, having been born and raised there, but eventually moved off to California in the 1980s while getting involved in being a gay activist. Sadly, he became estranged from his family around that time and found out he had also contracted HIV. Upon receiving this devastating news, he contacted his parents and asked to come back home to die with his family. Kirby's family welcomed their son back home and started the process of taking care of him. While working at Pater Noster House, Frare had been taking photos of patients and what they were going through. She remembered asking David Kirby if it was okay if she took his picture. He said it would be fine as long as she didn't use it for any type of personal profit. Kirby was an activist and he wanted to make sure that the message of how devastating the disease was got out to the public. He was more in tune to how important the pictures of Frare might become. One day while visiting her friend Peta at the facility, some of the staff came to retrieve Peta to be with the Kirby family. Peta took Frare with him, but she stayed outside the room to mind her own business. But David's mother came outside to get her, asking if it would be okay if she took photos of the family saying their final goodbyes. Therese agreed and went inside but stayed back in the corner of the room, barely moving but taking pictures. She remembered the day, telling Time magazine, "I absolutely knew that something truly incredible had unfolded in that room, right in front of me." Frare's photo of David's family comforting him in the hour of his death earned accolades, including a World Press Photo Award after it was published in Life. However, 2 years later, it became controversial when Benetton used a colorized version for a provocative ad campaign. The family didn't have a problem with Benetton using the image. In fact, they believed it further helped get the message out and that ultimately it would be something their son would have wanted. However, they did take exception to the reaction many people had over it and how outrageous they thought it was. David Kirby passed away at the age of 32, not long after Frare began taking photos at the hospice. In the now famous photo, you can also see the hands of one of the volunteers, Peta, who would come around to help patients and try to comfort them. Frare had actually spent more time with Peta than she did with David Kirby. And it would be the photos of Peta taken after Kirby's death that would make this story behind the image even more compelling. As Peta's health started to rapidly deteriorate in the early part of 1992, and as his HIV-positive status transitioned into AIDS, the Kirby family began to care for him in much the same way that Peta took care of their own son in the final months of his life. Peta had comforted David by speaking to him, holding him and trying to relieve his pain and loneliness through simple human contact. The Kirby family took it upon themselves to do the same for Peta in return and to be there for him as his strength began to fade. Kay Kirby told Life that she made up my mind when David was dying and Peta was helping to care for him, that when Peta's time came, and we all knew it would come, that we would care for him. There was never any question. We were going to take care of Peta, that was that. She went on to remember how hurt the family was seeing the way their son was treated in the small county hospital near their home where he spent time after coming back to Ohio. The person handing out menus was afraid to let David hold it in fear of infection. Instead, she read the menu items out to him from the doorway. Therese Frare had worked for newspapers for 12 years before entering grad school and was interested in covering the AIDS epidemic by the time she got to Columbus. She found it difficult to find a community of people with HIV and AIDS willing to be part of her photography, but when she was given permission to photograph at Paternoster, she knew she was doing something special and important. She never believed anything she ever shot would be in an issue of Life or winning awards. In the end, it was the one image of David Kirby that would be seen around the world, but she felt what she covered with PETA and the Kirbys got lost and forgotten. When the photo was published in Life, America was shocked by the graphic imagery of the disease. While people knew that AIDS was fatal, many only thought of its effects in an abstract form. While the world has become more familiar with HIV and AIDS over the years, Frare's photograph went a long way towards dispelling some of the fear and ignorance that had accompanied any mention of the disease. It's been said that the famous photo has done more to soften people's hearts on AIDS than any other before or since. The original caption accompanying the photo in Life read as follows: After a 3-year struggle against AIDS and its social stigmas, David Kirby could fight no longer. As his father, sister, and niece stood by in anguish, the 32-year-old founder and leader of the Stafford, Ohio AIDS Foundation felt his life slipping away. David whispered, "I'm ready," took a last labored breath, then succumbed.